Just 1 month after starting his new job in Sacramento, State Senator Doug LaMalfa this week was appointed to the Budget and Fiscal Review Committee.
Yeah, the senator joins us now tonight to talk about his new assignment, which he has referred to as ground zero in the fight to restore fiscal sanity. Welcome tonight, Senator, and thank you for joining us so late on a Friday night.
Thanks for having me on tonight.
Real quick, for people who may not be as familiar with state government, explain what this committee does in the Senate that you are now a part of.
Well, we tackle the governor's proposed budget immediately upon when he releases it in January. And so the Assembly has a budget committee, the Senate has one. We come together over the next few months to try and get a document that we can put back to the governor on time in June.
Well, just this week, backing up a little bit, the state faces a $25 billion deficit, 25 and then some. And just this week, Governor Brown, our new governor, released his budget proposal. What do you think of it? We've been covering it a lot this week, $12.5 billion in cuts and spending. Do you think it's realistic? How are you going to be tackling it with your team?
Well, you know, we want to be positive going in on this and work with the governor and work with our colleagues on the other side of the aisle. People expect that of us instead of just having the usual getting into our partisan corners and not getting anything done. That said, you know, I'll commend the governor on some of the reductions he's made already and the efforts he's made. These are tough things to do, but it got a little bit creative on the income side there, whereas tax increases are part of the package there, and the cuts are, some of the cuts are actually shifts and shifting things back to local government with the so-called realignment, which we still don't have a handle on yet as to what all that means. But, I mean, and a lot of folks in local government are really concerned about that. So what we're looking at is that one of the really key assumptions in this budget is that the voters will pass in a special election that hasn't been called yet, but perhaps in June, $11 billion worth of new taxes. And the signal from voters in the last couple of elections has been, we don't want new taxes. And so that's a pretty big assumption to go into this budget process with that still in there.
Let me ask you this, because you're a fiscal conservative. You presumably do not want new taxes, but is the crisis so bad right now that the cuts versus taxes is a moot point at this point? Something has to be done.
It's enormous. It is enormous. But until we've talked about reforming how government does its job, until we've gotten reforms to the dollars that should actually get to classrooms, that should actually get to health clinics and get bottled up along the way, the pass-through money is supposed to come from the federal government straight to these types of programs and needs. When they're held up by the state along the way, we haven't really done our job to get the reform we need to truly have the dollars get there. So until that point, I don't know how we can go to the taxpayers and say that you're not paying enough.
Can this problem be solved without somehow raising taxes and getting something from the
taxpayers? If we can get a quick enough run at it here and talk about the reforms again, too, I mean, there wasn't anything in the proposal there that allows us to go back and have more private sector bidding on government services. There's none of that kind of reform in here. And so until we tackle that, we really shouldn't be talking about tax increases, and the voters have been emphatic about it. They don't want to have the sales tax raised again on them and their car tax raised on them again. So it really becomes a loggerhead issue here, but I just can't blame the taxpayers for the state's problems. So let's dig into this, working with both sides, and really get to the bottom of it, and we can get there. So I intend to work with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle and be productive with this governor, who, you know, when he met with us the other day, it was a positive meeting. So I'm optimistic still in this that we can get somewhere.
And can we quickly wrap it up asking you how what ought not to be a law is going? Because that's so fun.
We just have like 15 seconds.
Yeah, that was a contest we had. We're getting a lot of responses on that, over 100 so far, for people that want to get rid of laws on the books instead of making more laws that they have to deal with. So it's been a really good outreach to our constituents. And
we will follow up and see some of the ideas you're looking at there.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Senator LaMalfa.